everyone. This is Allison Chicorel with a brand new podcast for you. We got a Broad's Way through Broadway. I'm your host, the Broad, Allison Chicorel, and we are going to be talking about a different musical every episode of this podcast. So we'll just be chatting up Broadway and hope you enjoy. I decided to start with the musical Shrek. Yes, Shrek. And to join me today, I have invited Anna Otto. That's a Broadway show name, if I've heard one. Awesome performer's name. Anna here was invited for this particular episode about Shrek because, for those of you who don't know, which you don't because this is the first episode, I run a children's theater in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, and it's called the Box Theater Company, and right before COVID happened this year, we did a production of Shrek The Musical, and what I like to do is cast adults to be on stage with the kids. I like to mix it up a little bit so that the kids have some adult actors to work with. And during this particular production of Shrek, I ended up holding auditions and ended up casting the lovely Anna Otto in the role of Fiona.
Yay!
And her boyfriend as Shrek. That's fun.
He's fine. He's fine.
That's a story for later if we want to get into it. Totally didn't even know they were a couple when I cast them. That was just awesome luck. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you. I'm really excited to do this and be here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm technically just in my apartment, but you know.
This is COVID podcast. We are not together right now, so we apologize for any weird tech delays or anything like that. But yeah, super excited and very brave of Anna to join for this particular episode, being the first one, in hopes that I don't screw anything up.
I'm excited. It's going to be great.
Yay. All right. So, Shrek. Okay. So, fun fact about Shrek for anyone who doesn't know, Janine Tesori is the composer of Shrek the Musical. Cool thing about her, she has she has the most Tony nominations of any woman in history. So she's kind of a big deal for us girls in theater. There aren't many composers. There aren't many female composers in general. Most of them are men. Think of all the Broadway composers. Yeah. Andrew Lloyd Webber, Stephen Sondheim.
I don't think I know a single, I feel bad saying this, but now that you mention it, I don't think off the top of my head I could name a single just woman composer. I can think of a couple couples, but for the most part I can think of only men.
Right.
Just on their own.
Yeah, it's
good to see a woman vibing.
Yeah, it's completely a man's world, and here we have this awesome woman composer who she was nominated for a ton of Tonys. She won a bunch. She did Fun Home, which is an awesome musical as well. Thoroughly Modern Millie, Violet the Musical, and a ton of movies. She did a lot of Disney sequels. She's done a lot of Disney sequels, which is really cool. But yeah, this show has always been special to me, just honestly because of not just because of that, but it's one of the things that's really kind of drawn me to the music, is knowing that it's in this world of practically nothing but male composers in Broadway, at least like you said, all the famous ones that you can think of, all the big deal ones, they're all men. So she's really special and wildly talented.
I had no idea that the composer was a woman until you mentioned it just today. I must have missed that when I was looking at my music. I just never put two and two together.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And now, do you know Thoroughly Modern Millie and Violet the Musical, Fun Home, any of those? Are you familiar with any of those?
Oh, I'm familiar with Thoroughly Modern Millie when I had my starring role as a freshman in high school as the new modern at the end of the show. Oh, God, that takes me back. Didn't know how to do eyebrows back then. I had two caterpillars on my face.
I'd love to see pictures if it wasn't a podcast.
Nope. They're absolutely burned. No one's allowed to see the pictures.
Oh, man. So you're familiar with Thoroughly Modern Millie? I am too. I like that show. It's a fun score. Do you Do you notice, because a lot of times with composers, they often have a style. Like Stephen Sondheim has a very recognizable style. You hear a song and
Yes.
you hear Sondheim-y. Do you feel like Thoroughly Modern Millie and the Shrek score, do you hear that it's the same composer?
I also know Fun Home really well.
Okay.
I'm thinking about those 3 musicals off the top of my head, and it's funny because you say that they have the same composer. I never would have guessed that. The main reason I say that is because Thoroughly Modern Millie is just such a stylized piece.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, all 3 of them are pretty stylized. Like, Thoroughly Modern Millie is super jazzy and super kind of a period piece to an extent. Whereas Fun Home is, I mean, not to say Shrek isn't, but Fun Home is very modern musical theater. It's very contemporary. I'd say that it almost has more of a, like, powerful, I don't know what word specifically I'm trying to think of, but, like, when I think of that music, I think of very contemporary, very modern, very forward when you're singing it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Shrek, I mean, Shrek is right up there with all the Disney, like, different but the same Disney shows where it's, like, its own style. It's a fairy tale in its own right. Like, the music style is once again different, and, like, I mean, all the shows have, like, their ballads and they have their tender moments and their big group numbers and, like, things like that, but I don't know that I can think of a specific number from any of the shows that reminds me of the other 2
Right.
in that group of 3. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah, totally. No, I no, that's interesting, and that's why I ask, because so often so often that's not the case. So often, and I don't mean this to make it sound like a lot of composers are unoriginal. I actually quite like when I hear a song and can hear who the composer is and look it up and find out that I'm right because I hear this. I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. It's kind of like a trademark within the music. I noticed that. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, you mentioned Sondheim.
Yeah.
And that makes me think of, I did Company when I was in college. And you've done Company, haven't you?
Twice. Three times.
Yes. So you're very familiar with the music as well, and how, like, there are parts in the score that allude to other musicals that Sondheim has done. Like, they take the themes from his other shows and put them in there.
Yes.
And, like, she doesn't seem to do anything like that. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. Like, it's good for whatever style you're looking for the show.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like it's more common to not it's more common to notice the similarities from song to song and from show to show. I feel like the songs obviously within, like, if you take all the songs within Shrek, I hear, like, the kind of consistency, but from show to show, I feel like they're very different. Like, I hear certain songs in Ragtime that I hear Seussical, and because it's the same composer, but I hear, and I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's a certain beat or a certain. There's something about the color of that music that it's like, it's the same color as Seussical, and I hear Seussical in this, and I don't find that in hers, which is, again, it's fun when you can, but it's interesting when you can't, because it's like, wow, look at that diversity that she has, obviously, as a composer. Like, that's really, really cool. So switching gears here a little bit, so with Shrek specifically, do you remember your first impression of Shrek? Like, do you remember when you first saw the show or heard the music from the show, or what was your, like, introduction to it besides the movie?
Of course. I mean, I had never actually seen the show besides the one on Netflix, and I have a very clear memory of actually in my college dorm, like my sophomore year, I was so excited because I had finally, like, gotten a Netflix subscription and had it on my laptop, and so I was watching it all the time. Oh, the beginning of the end. But I remember I had gotten to my dorm before my other 2 roommates, so I just plugged in my laptop and started watching Shrek because I had nothing better to do. I didn't have any homework yet. I was, like, just hanging out. And I don't think I ever made it all the way through. Like, I think eventually people showed up, but I really liked it. I got really stuck on singing Who I'd Be, like, all the time. Loved that song. One of my friends and I used to I would sing the Shrek parts though, because
Yeah.
that's but we would sing it together in the car all the time, and that was by far my favorite song from the show, of course. But I mean, I liked it. I thought usually when musicals are made based off of movies, even sometimes with Disney ones and like Princess Stories or Legally Blonde even, I'm trying to think what other one. I think they did Elf. I don't know. Mean Girls. Usually I'm not very attracted to those kinds of musicals just because I like the movie as a plain movie.
Mm-hmm.
Disney ones are different, obviously, because they have the music already in them, usually.
Yeah.
So I guess they don't count. But when it's a movie that doesn't have musical numbers in it, usually I'm kind of off-put by the idea that it's suddenly becoming a musical.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. But Shrek is very approachable.
Yes.
I think it's the kind of show that it's campy, but it knows it's campy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the movie in general is super over the top. It has a huge fan base. And the musical does too. I feel like everybody likes it.
Yeah.
The music is beautiful. I like Legally Blonde. Unpopular opinion, not a super huge fan of Mean Girls. I like Heathers, things like that. But the songs in those sometimes feel like somebody's like, okay, let's pick this key part of this character and try to force a song out of it.
Right.
Whereas in this show, I don't feel like that's the case. All the songs feel very natural for each of the characters that are singing them in the time that they're singing them.
I'd agree. I know. I totally agree with that. I like you with the same thing. My first official introduction to it was the Broadway recording that was put on Netflix. I'd heard the score overall before that because I have XM radio in my car and long drives, obviously. So like at some point or another between XM radio and between Shrek songs being a very popular choice for my kids to do lessons with and auditions with. I mean, between the two, you know, I'd heard even without even ever seeing the show completely, I had already learned all the words to "I Know It's Today" and "Who I'd Be," like and "Don't Let Me Go," just because of. I just want to make sure we're still recording. Still recording. This episode's going great. Good. Just from between XM and hearing all the kids sing all these songs, because obviously Shrek was a big deal, you know, to the kids in the theater too. And
I feel like. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, but seeing it on Netflix, that was my first time actually seeing it like all the way straight through. It was refreshing because it's like I had only heard it in like pieces and obviously seen the movie and like the movie. I liked the movie. I didn't go crazy over the movie. I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. That was likable. But when the musical came out, it wasn't like I was like, oh, thank God, Shrek the Musical, because I was so obsessed with the movie. It wasn't like that. So it was. Overall, it was a nice first impression, and I loved the cast, like the original cast. I had great people in it, and it was funny, like just like the movie. It was very funny.
Yeah, and it's funny in a way that's different from the movie. They're not making the exact same jokes.
No, that's
which I appreciate. And I feel like just going back to what I was saying about movies being turned into musicals can be hard. Sometimes it turns into a big flop. Like, I feel like it's more likely that a musical based off of a movie could be a flop than just a new, fresh musical.
Yes.
Because people go into it with expectations of what it's going to be. And again, Shrek follows the original story without being so close that it's like, well, I could have just watched the movie and yeah.
Yeah, no, because a lot of the Disney ones, you know, that they end up like that. It's some of the same lines, some of the same, and the punchlines too, and especially in a show that is such high comedy like Shrek. You know, you don't want all those jokes, you know, already spoiled because people have the movie memorized because they've been watching it for years. So I think they made a lot of really smart choices with the musical without, you know, copying it directly. It's still having the same plot line and the same, you know, everything that happens. But I mean, I know when you and I did the show together, when we worked the show together, obviously audiences were were laughing like crazy because there was jokes they hadn't heard before because they'd only seen the movie, they hadn't seen the musical. I also have such high appreciation as someone who runs a children's theater, and obviously my goal is to never get burned out with children's type of comedy. I have such high appreciation for shows exactly like Shrek that are family friendly, like bring a kid of any age to this show and bring an adult to any age of the show, and the kids will have stuff to laugh at and the adults will not be sitting there like, oh, when is this over? I can't handle all this sugar sweet rainbows. Like there is a type of humor in there for all different kinds of funny bones. Like there's the crass, potty humor. There's the witty stuff that goes right over the kids' heads and has the adult audience members in stitches. It's such a strong balance of different kinds of comedy that obviously it's hard to reach that and then be able to apply to so many different types of audiences. And I think Shrek does that amazingly well.
I would agree. I mean, I'm just thinking back to our rehearsals and the scenes I wasn't in, there was always something that made me laugh, whether it was something I'd seen a million times or I was just realizing what was being said for the first time. I feel like there wasn't a rehearsal where I wasn't, in a good way, laughing at what my fellow actors were doing on stage. Even if the kids were doing something, there was always something good that had me just dying.
Yeah. Well, and the show has so many characters, so many, even the ensemble members, have such a distinct character, which gives so many more opportunities for jokes to play and things to look at and things to laugh with and laugh at. So, I think that's something really special about this particular show is that kind of humor that can cross over to and entertain any age. It's time for a fun fact.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let me know if you know this. You probably know this. If not, your boyfriend who played Shrek might know this.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you know the origin of the word Shrek?
No, I don't.
It's a Yiddish word. And it means monster. It's a Yiddish word for monster. It's also German. It has a German origin as well for fright or terror.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I like that. That is a fun fact.
I learned that yesterday when
I definitely thought it was a made-up word, but I like that that's a real word, and I appreciate that you are sharing that.
Appreciate the fun fact. Yay.
Yes.
All right. So, well, listen, the another thing I wanted to kind of talk about here is, so the original cast of Shrek, we got Sutton Foster. I mean, my goodness, no words for that woman. And Brian Darcy James, Daniel Breaker, and John Tartaglia as Pinocchio. Do you have a favorite from the original cast of Shrek?
Well, I gotta say right off the bat, I mean, Sutton, she's everything to women our age.
Absolutely.
And even people younger than us. I feel like we all collectively look up to her. I remember when I was in high school, I used to watch Bunheads with my mom all the time because I thought because she was on it, and I was like, oh my god, Sutton Foster. And I idolized her for such a long time, and it was kind of a big hump for me for a while to get over the idea that I had to be just like her in order to succeed in that role. I think you remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I remember even telling you, and I always tell my leads this whenever they feel the slightest bit intimidated of playing a role because of who the original on Broadway was and everything. And I tell this to the kids too, and I tell it to my adult actors. If I wanted Sutton Foster to play Fiona in my production of Shrek, I would have cast Sutton Foster. But no, I cast you, Anna Otto.
Amen. Amen.
Because it's and I tell this to the kids too. These Broadway knockouts like Sutton Foster, who seem just absolutely invincible to everything. There's seemingly nothing that they can't do brilliantly. That obviously we want idols like that, but we have to be our own, because that's what each of us has. That there's no one else who can do it exactly like you, and to own our own voice. And as we went along in rehearsals with you playing Fiona, I noticed a progression from you becoming less of a Sutton Foster copycat and more, this is Anna's version of Fiona, and I was so happy. And it's not, and don't get me wrong, I love Sutton Foster's Fiona. Who doesn't? But but I want the original, like the person who I cast, and to not be locked in creative box of just, I have to sound exactly like her and then do things exactly like her. And you did. I mean, I thought you did it brilliantly, and it just shows that's the best part about art is there are so many ways to do something well and so many ways to do something right.
Well, thank you. I would just like to say thank you. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, that was one of the biggest helps for me to come over, and I think as great, like, she's an amazing artist, performer, just in general. Her voice is flawless. Chef's kiss. I was doing a chef's kiss, since you can't see what I'm doing. But it's so important to, like, maintain your own originality and make sure that, I mean, everybody's portrayal is going to be different. That doesn't make it less funny. That doesn't make it less moving. That doesn't make it less... But she's definitely the one, I feel like, for me personally, when I step into a role that she has played, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like she's going to come see it or something. Like, she's like, oh, they're doing a production of Shrek and Oconomowoc. I'm on my way. And I'm like,
Well, she seems like a delightful person. I bet if she did, I'm sure she'd love your performance. she'd
exactly. Like, I feel like she'd be really positive.
Yeah, she's probably the kind of person who would be like, you're great.
Yeah, and I'd still be like, oh, my queen, did this performance please you? Like, but she is just so amazing, and she's such a good dancer. Like, I just think about that a lot. Oh god,
she is one of the triple threats, yeah, and she's funny. Like, that's the thing too, is you got the singer, the dancer, and the actor, but then on top of that, you got like a flipping comedian. It's like she's probably also a professional puppeteer, because that's the thing on Broadway these days is it's not just triple threat. You got to also be able to be a puppeteer for like Avenue Q and all that stuff. I'm sure she can, because she seems incapable of sucking at anything.
Yeah, for real.
So I mean I like I said, I love the whole cast. I'm a huge, I like Brian Darcy James. I first saw him actually in have you seen the TV show? It's not on anymore. It was only on for like 2 seasons, but it was called Smash.
Oh, I've heard of it. I watched a couple episodes here and there. I think it was on at the same time as Glee, and I was way more into Glee. How embarrassing.
You had to pick a side.
I did, and I was team Glee against my will, and by against my will, I mean I was holding myself hostage. Like.
That's awesome. Oh. It's really good though. I have it on DVD if you ever want to borrow it, because it's not on any of the things, any of the streaming things that at least that I know of. But Megan Hilty, who's also another theater goddess, like, my goodness, she deserves an episode of this podcast all by herself, where I could talk about her for like 3 hours. People would shoot me. She's wonderful. But Brian Darcy James was on. I first saw him on that. He didn't sing much on this show. It was the weirdest thing. This is a TV show that is a musical TV show that has like 5 songs per episode, sung by every freaking character in the show except him. And I remember not really thinking anything of it at the time, because I wasn't really familiar with him when I was watching the show. And then like a year after the show was done, I was rewatching it and just kind of IMDbing and Googling all these, people and things like that, just learning. I'm a nerd and like to learn like fun facts about these actors. And I come across that this character who has not been given like a solo in this musical TV show played Shrek. And not only played Shrek, but had like quite a lot of Broadway and off-Broadway theater credits to his name, and I'm like, why aren't they having this guy sing more? Like, and then they finally did. They finally did eventually, like way late in the season. They finally gave him a goofy little solo, and I was like, give him more stuff. He's so good. Anyway, that's enough of judgmental Allison. But
no, you're good.
Telling these people what to do with their TV show, like I know better.
No, you're good. Gage really likes him, so I obviously learned more about him, because I didn't pay attention as much to male performers when I was just hanging out by myself because I was looking for, like songs to sing.
Oh, good. So that's not just me who does that. That's great. Great.
No, you're good.
Totally
I got you. I'm like right there.
Performers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I could go on a rant about Bernadette Peters. She's my queen. She's my goddess.
Okay, we'll do an episode about Bernadette Peters because between the two of us,
Absolutely.
it'll be a day-long podcast.
I look forward to it.
Well, let's see here. Okay, so I think this would be a good time to take a quick break. When we get back, I would love to talk about I would love to talk about some stuff about how you and I came together to do a production of Shrek. Like I said in the beginning, I directed a production of Shrek at the Box Theater in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, and ended up casting Anna as Princess Fiona, and she was marvelous. When we come back, we will need to talk about some awesome stuff that happened with our particular production of Shrek the Musical. So sit tight, and we'll be right back after this word from our wonderful friends at 6'5 Media.
Hey, this is TC.
And this is Jim from the Studio Demands It podcast,
Where every episode we take a demand from a hypothetical studio,
which could be you,
and challenge ourselves to conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film based on the stipulations
or the demands
we are given. We talk about movies all the time. Particularly, we complain about the choices made in the films we've seen.
We're nerds like that.
And, of course, like any good nerd does, we automatically assume that we could do better.
Even with the demands and restrictions that clearly must have been put on by a production.
So head on over to studiodemandsit.com and listen to our previous library of episodes. Our library of previous episodes. Our precious library, Jim. Our library of precious episodes.
You're a pirate, Smeagol.
Okay, so head on over to studiodemandsit.com to listen to our library of episodes.
And submit your demand for a future episode, too.
So go do that.
Okay, bye.
Okay, end of ad.
Hi there, I'm David.
And I'm Kate.
And we're the hosts of another Zelda podcast.
There are so many good podcasts out there, and some of them in particular concern the Legend of Zelda.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. That is actually the name of our show, Another Zelda Podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We have top 10 lists.
Yeah, we do deep dives on game design and production aspects of the different Zelda games.
And we talk about our own experiences. We do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. Really just almost anything that has to do with Zelda, we like to talk about it. A new episode comes out every other Friday, and you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
That's right. All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye!
Okay, and we're back. This is Allison Chicorel with Broadway through Broadway. I'm here with Anna Otto, and we are talking about Shrek the Musical. Hi, Anna. Welcome back.
Hello again.
Super awesome. Did you have fun on your break?
I did. I was, just chilling.
All right. Well, so we had a blast talking about the composer of Shrek, Janine Tesori, and our first impressions of this awesome musical. Great family-friendly show, super, super witty. Something enjoyable in this show for everyone age 3 to 97. The cutoff is 97.
Mm-hmm.
I've just decided 98-year-olds will hate this show.
Anybody older than that can't come. Mm-hmm.
So, but what I'd love to talk about, as I said, so you played Princess Fiona
I did.
in the production of Shrek the Musical that I directed. So I cast you. Good job, me, because it worked out great. You playing?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great
Fiona.
time. It was a fun time. It was right before everything got shut down. I think of it as the last happy thing that happened.
It really is. It's so sad that Shrek now has such. I mean, I always loved Shrek, but it holds such a special place in my heart now because it was the one show at my theater, the one show of 2020 that was normal. That was normal from beginning to end.
It feels simultaneously like it just happened and also 1,000 years ago,
Absolutely.
doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going down memory lane on our Facebook page for the organization recently, and was posting like a different thing every day from like a past show, and I was doing like this show from 3 years ago, this show from 2 years ago, this show from 5 years ago, and I put up Shrek, and I was looking at what year was Shrek. Oh my gosh, that was this year. Like,
Yeah.
that was February, and the first week of March, we closed right on time. Like, I mean, I think if we had another weekend, things would have looked, we probably still would have done it because it was right when we were trying to figure out, like, things were figuring out that, COVID and everything.
Yeah.
But it closed just in time.
I'm pretty sure my job went remote 10 days after we closed.
So close. It was so close.
Yeah.
And I'm so great. I'm so great. We had a sold out house pretty much every night. We had the typical bug that ran through the cast, and to this day I still wonder if
I do too.
If it was
Gage and I talk about that all the time. We're like, did we have coronavirus in like January?
Yep, because Donkey.
Because I was sick.
Yep, you were.
And he was sick.
You
We were
were
all
sick,
sick.
and Donkey, and our young Fiona in the trio of I Know It's Today. Young Fiona, she had something, and we looked.
Gage
back,
was sick too, but he's less of a baby than I am.
and we all had like different kind of versions of it. It was pretty much the same thing. But yeah, you look back on it now and think about our symptoms. No one had lost their taste, sense of smell, but we look back and it's like, but we had all the other symptoms. It's possible, and so it's interesting to look back on that now. Because like, did the entire Shrek cast have COVID? So
I know, like, what? Are we immune?
we're all fine now, which is great. That's the reason that
thankfully.
we're able to laugh about this without being completely horrible people. But yeah, so this was back in we started rehearsals in January, and then the show went up at the end of February and the first week in March for Shrek the Musical. As I said in the beginning of the podcast, in case you missed it, the Box Theater is a youth theater. But what I like to do as the artistic director there, I love to put adults on stage with the kids. I have found that the audience gives the most positive feedback to those productions. They feel that the adults up the quality while also giving the kids an opportunity to really, really, meet their best as well with being on stage with people who are more seasoned than them. And the kids are great. And I know this was your first experience, at the Box Theater. And for a show like Shrek, with so many featured characters, I just felt like this was the perfect show to mix adults in with the cast. We had a cast of 17, and we had an adult Farquaad, an adult Shrek, adult Fiona, and adult Donkey, and all the rest of the characters were young children and teens, age 8 to 16. And
It was a big cast.
It was a big cast. 17 was it's big for us. We usually don't cast more than 20. We're a small black box theater, 50-seat house. So we usually cap it at 20. So we were almost at our maximum for this. What was your experience, Anna, working with the kids in a show like this that is not traditionally performed by 4 adults and 13 kids?
I mean, I was blown away by their talent, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I know you perform with kids, and you're like, wow, these kids are all amazing. No, like, these kids are actually super, super talented, and I was, not that I had low expectations, but I was blown away, like, exceeded my expectations. And they're all just so stinking cute. Like, I just loved them. They all were super nice and super outgoing, and, like, really genuinely, like, wanted to do the best that they could, but also we're all about having fun, which is exactly what I like about theater. Like, I want to have a good show, but I also don't want to sit around and be like super, super, super serious all the time. So it was nice to be able to like joke around with these kids and have fun and like still be able to teach them and learn from them at the same time, like the important things about theater and why we do theater and how to keep each performance fresh and everything. So
and
yeah,
that was that's something that's so important to me. The work hard, play hard attitude that I really try to instill in these kids, because they are kids. Some of them are there because just this fun hobby that they're trying, and some of the older kids are doing this because they hope to be on Broadway someday. So that work hard, play hard attitude is so important, as is in situations like this with Shrek the Musical that we did, where I bring in the adults to work with the kids. I'm so picky about the adults that come in and work with them, because I feel like these kids, their attitude and their egos and their hearts are so fragile that it's like, I just don't want to subject them to any type of bad influence, nor do I want to subject them even to an actor who will come in and do their job as an actor but not want anything to do with the kids, because that does not instill in them that we are a team. And to bring adults like you and the three other adults that we had in this cast to come in and be that mentor, but also be their friend and treat them like their equal, because that ups their professionalism. And that is just, it's amazing. And it's amazing to watch. And it's why I am so not only picky about the adults I bring in to work with these kids, but so grateful to the ones like yourself who came in and did something, amazing like that. So let's talk about Shrek. So who was Shrek in our production, Anna?
His name is Gage Patterson. I don't know anything about him. From what I heard, he's just awful. No, he's my boyfriend. I live with him. He is currently in the other room. He just bought Cyberpunk, so he's probably playing it right now.
So yeah, we had auditions. Before I had the children's auditions, I wanted to find my 4 adult actors for Donkey, Fiona, Shrek, and Lord Farquaad in our production of Shrek. And I brought in, I don't know how many people I saw. I think I saw about maybe 19 or 20 people total. Most of them, I'm not going to lie, this is theater we're talking about, so most of them were women who were interested in the role of Fiona. So between
not surprising.
between Shrek and Farquaad and Donkey and Fiona, obviously the Fionas had the most, competition for their role. And Anna obviously came in, with her boyfriend at the time, but me not knowing that, they all just came in, and I did not know that there was any connection there. I thought they read well together, and
thank you.
and I remember before I even shared the casting results with you, Anna, I was talking with our good friend Adam, and I was telling him, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with these 4. And I sent him the list, and he said, that's cool. Anna and Gage are dating, And I was like,
yep.
Yeah, no, I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, Gage and I try to, I'm probably worse at it than he is, but we try really hard to maintain a professional attitude at auditions that we do end up having together.
I had no idea, so you did great.
Thank you. He's making noise in the bedroom, which makes me think that he's going to come out here and say something snotty. But Shrek was like his ultimate dream role. And so he was actually the one, because I was, just doing my rounds of auditioning and stuff. And one day he texted me and was like, hey, I saw that there's this place in Oconomowoc doing Shrek. Like, do you want to go try out with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it was really exciting. Like, it was high on our list of dream roles for both of us. And, as luck would have it, you cast both of us, and you actually cast people that we had already known too. So all of the adults got along super well. At least I thought so. I love and adore Dennis and Ben. They're just both two of the
you guys were
kind
great.
of humans.
You guys were wonderful people to have in the cast. I bragged about you to so many people. I said, these adults set the bar so high for any other adults who come in and work with my kids. Like,
I'm crying.
Well,
Thank you.
Anna brought cookies to the first rehearsal because she was afraid the kids wouldn't like her.
I was so intimidated. Like, how embarrassing. I was so intimidated. I was like, I'm going to bake cookies because I really want these kids to like me, and I'm scared they're going to think I'm lame. And then they tricked me into eating a cricket.
And then the next day, I think you had like 17 new Instagram followers.
I did. They still like my post. On my anniversary post of me and Gage, like half the likes were from girls who were in Shrek. And I'm like, thank you, ladies. That's my hype squad right there.
That's darling. So we went over the auditions, obviously. Directing the show, going through those auditions, trying to find, my Shrek and Fiona and Donkey and Farquaad was so fun. Because these are such big personality characters. Those are always those are always so fun to have auditions for, is the characters who have just, they're so distinctive and their personalities are just so big. And because I it's like I was open-minded, but I also knew exactly what I wanted for this.
Yeah.
With these particular kinds of characters. And yeah, it was a blast. It was my first time seeing Dennis, who played our donkey. He came in and completely blew me away. I remember he came in and sang "Don't Let Me Go" for Donkey. And I also had him. Gage maybe doesn't know this, but I did also have Dennis read for Shrek. I was I was open to Dennis for Shrek or Donkey. But then with Gage's Shrek, and I was like, I just loved that combo that they gave me.
Yeah.
It was so darling. It was so perfect. And it maintained through the entire production, watching the relationship between Donkey and Shrek. It's so fun.
Well, Gage and Dennis had done Spring Awakening together,
Right.
and I don't know how close they were in that production, but I think, again, this production really just helped solidify the friendship between the adults. Because I don't know if you knew this either, but Ben and I went on a couple of dates a long time ago.
Ben was our Lord Farquaad.
So I was really, really nervous at first when I got there. I was like, is he going to hate me? And then he was like, hi, Anna, how are you? And like hugged me. I was like, oh my God, okay, he's an adult. I forgot this is
And
how
of course
adults are.
now, because I only know you guys as Fiona and Farquaad, when you say that you went on a couple of dates with him, I picture you with the shorty, like walking around on his
obviously.
knees, like Lord
Yep.
Farquaad.
Yep.
That's what I picture. So that's in my head forever. For the Box Theater's production of this show, people would see Shrek the Musical and think, not our production, but in general, people would see Shrek and then picture like a little theater like ours doing this, a 50-seat theater, low budget, little nonprofit kids theater, and go, how the are they gonna pull that off? Like, that's such a, like, it's a fairy tale show. Like, look at all like these costumes and these sets and these special effects.
The quick changes.
I mean, it's a big show. And I was just so excited to do Shrek because when I first started working at this little theater, I only ended up picking shows that were quote unquote appropriate for our space. As would people would send me ideas like, oh, you should do this little show and this little show. It's so perfect for your space, so perfect for your space. And ended up learning a little bit more about theater business and finding out we can't only do little shows, because little shows, guess what? They don't make money. And we need money to keep our doors open. So we need to do Disney shows. We need to do Disney shows. We need to do big family shows. So we started, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit and getting bigger shows like Shrek, and other large musicals. And it kind of became like my favorite thing to announce a show we're doing. And I'm like, do it, people. Ask me how are you going to do such a big show in that little space? Ask it. I want you to ask it, because I love that now. I love people questioning it. I love people going, how the heck are they going to do this? Because I've learned that the answer is you say, yes, we're going to do the show, and you figure out how well you do it. Because so far it's always come together.
Yes. And I feel like Shrek was so almost immersive. Like, it's so interesting because when you do shows normally, you can't look out and see the face of every single person in the audience. But when you do shows at the box, you can. And I was laughing. One of my friends came to see it, and she was like, yeah, we could see a lot of spit coming out of your mouth during that whole performance. And I was like, good. I was enunciating.
And of course,
But-
now in COVID times, that's like the most horrifying thing we've ever heard.
Yeah. Back then, it was still good. It was still good then.
Back then, spit was great.
Yeah. I was living.
But yeah, so it's like I said, it's my favorite thing now to, the answer is yes, we will do this big show and we'll figure out how later. So I now love it when people, question how we're going to put it together. And Shrek, Shrek was one of the ones that people were like, wow, I don't know how they're going to do such a big show in that little space. And the feedback that we actually got from a lot of the audience members was, this is your best yet. Like we got a lot of comments that Shrek was a new box favorite. And this was coming from people who have seen, quite a lot of our shows. Not coming in, they've seen like one or two things before. These were coming from people who have seen at least 5 or 6 of our shows before. And saying this was good. And I really think that was to the credit of a great script and a great cast. The combination of that, because it's obviously, Shrek's the kind of, the script and the music and the lyrics, you have a great product right there. Like it's hard to mess that up. It's hard to take that script and somehow put together a production. With the cast that we had between my 4 adults and obviously the stellar kids, it was I think it was something really, really special. But yeah, so that was just a little bit of our personal experience with Shrek.
I could go on for hours. It's the last taste of normalcy. I could reminisce for hours.
It's so special because of that particular timing. But but yeah, I think we're about ready to wrap things up here for today. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to share about Shrek.
I don't know. And like you said, it's just such a special show to me. I really look forward to a time when I can audition at the box again, just because I really enjoyed the kids. I really enjoyed working with you. I really enjoyed the people, the other adults. It was just such a positive experience all around. And I feel like, not to be negative, but I feel like there's been so many productions in the past that I've been in. So far, all the professional ones have been all right. They've been good. But there have been so many professional or non-professional performances that I had been in that had at least one thing that I was like, I really hated this aspect of this performance. But when I was working in Tandem, may she rest in peace. And also,
I know, right?
right. And working with the box, it was just such a positive, happy, fun experience. Outside the normal stress of memorizing lines, memorizing music, the things that we kind of expect to happen, there was never a moment when I was like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. It was always something I really looked forward to and was really happy to be doing. And I look forward to having an experience like that again one day.
Someday when theater is not in a coma.
But it's just such a special show. And now I think even watching the Netflix production or the DVD of our performance, it'll just hold a special place in my heart now and bring back so many good memories.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for listening. This was a lot of fun, Anna. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah, would love to have you back another time. If we got another show that we both are passionate about, we'll be sure to get together again.
Absolutely.
So let's do social stuff real quick. If you'd like to reach the show, you can like and subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Music, and Spotify. You can also follow me. On Instagram, I have @Allie.chick. I also have Instagram for the Box Theater @the.box.theater. Easy to find. If you'd like to comment on this episode or any other episodes, or if you'd like to make a suggestion for a musical that we can discuss, that would be awesome. So that does it for today. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back next time with another musical conversation on the Broadway through Broadway. This is Allison Chicorel taking a final bow. Anna Otto, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye-bye.